Good evening and welcome to Law Talk, the show that brings the Constitution, the law, and the events of today to you each month. Good evening, and tonight on Law Talk we're actually very fortunate because we have Donald and Melania Trump. And Donald, why would you come to Law Talk to talk to us tonight?
Well, I'm very happy that you invited us on to Law Talk tonight, James. I think it's very important that we get out and tell the public, what's going on with this country, what's going on with the money in this country. And Melania, we're rich, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
But no, we're actually very rich. We're very rich. And we just want to make it clear that we're very rich.
When you say rich, what do you really mean by rich? What is rich today?
Well, Melania, how rich are we?
Well, you did the math, or did I do the math? Anyways, we have exactly 9 semi-trailers filled with $100 bills, which equates to about $9 billion in net worth.
About $9 billion. So we're very, very rich. So we're not just rich, we're very rich.
Well, I have a question then. How do you handle the tax man, Donald? I know my viewers want to find out. How do you do that?
Well, I've had a little change of heart. I used to think that, everyone should give a lot more money to the tax man after a certain amount of wealth. But now I think we want to power the economic engine by having some tax cuts. So I'm really talking about we ought to change the tax structure. What's our numbers on that, Melania? Like over 10 million, I think we're 15%. And if you're making less than 30,000, you're in the 1 or 2% ratio. If you're making under 100,000, about 5%. So we're thinking, let people keep some of their money.
Well, I have a question. Are you saying that every citizen has a responsibility to pay something into the tax code?
Well, yeah, I think everybody should pay something. But I think if you look at the Revolutionary War that our founders started, right, in 1776 and all that, now what was the tax burden at that time in today's dollars?
Well, I don't know.
It was about $5,000 a year.
That's a lot of money then.
No, that's in today's money.
Oh, in today's money, it's nothing.
Well, no, they didn't think so. They thought it was worth starting the Revolutionary War over $5,000 a year in our money.
I thought the Revolutionary War was started over the tea tax and lack of representation in London.
Well, don't get me started with those Tea Partiers.
Those Tea Partiers? The Tea Partiers?
Tea Partiers.
Oh, okay.
So, Melania, what do you think about this tax thing? What do you think is the worst tax or the best tax?
Well, I think it was a very dumb idea, the one you had a few years ago, to tax the 14% across the board for $10 million and up.
I don't think there's a very good time to bring that up. So, Jim.
Well, wait a minute, Donald. I have to tell you,
forward.
I did do a little. I did a little background. I reviewed some of your outtakes from 1999, and it was very evident that you had indicated then, if all people that had over $10 million were taxed 14.5%, that you would be able to wipe out the national debt at that time, which, by the way, was substantially less than it is today.
Yeah, I think 10 years ago the national debt was about $9 billion, and now we're getting close to 20.
9 trillion.
9 trillion. Now we're close to 20 trillion.
Yeah, well, you know why.
Which is 10,000 semi-trailers. We've also done that math.
How many semi-trailers?
Okay, if you take a semi-trailer, now how many cubic feet in one semi-trailer?
Oh, gosh, I have to, 3,200.
3,200 cubic feet in every semi-trailer. And if you pile $100 bills up to fill up 3,200 cubic feet, that's one semi-trailer, that's about $2 billion in one semi-trailer, $100 bills stacked up in that semi-trailer.
Well, I got a question. How many semi-trailers, $100 bills, are moving across that southern border?
Well, I'm just saying there's always money moving around, and that's a good thing. But we have about 10 of those. We have about 5 of those trucks. We've got about five semi-trucks of $100 bills.
Can you think of anything, Donald?
Except with that's not counting her jewelry. But
well, her jewelry.
Yeah. Okay. So
That's another 10,000.
Why don't you tell us a little bit on Inside Edition what it really is to be married to the Donald?
I'd rather keep it off record.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute. What number wife is this, Donald?
Well, I have accountants that keep track of all that kind of thing. I really don't. I don't really take care of that.
I only see him once a year.
Yeah, once a year.
Oh, once a year, whether you have to or not?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Do you just have lunch?
The White House I might live in. I might.
Oh, well, that's a lot of interest. But,
okay.
Donald, let's talk about some of your other issues that you've been talking about recently, and those include China. And what's going on with China? What should we be doing with China?
Well, China's a bunch of losers.
How's that?
Well, the thing is, like, say, China, they don't pay any for any intellectual property. They don't pay for any patents. They're just pirates.
They're pirates.
They're pirates. Like, say, if the Germans steal a patent, right, and start selling a piece of equipment that's patent in the United States, we can sue Germany. There's full faith and confidence. I can go to bond, and I can sue here in Los Angeles or wherever, and I can win a case in federal court, and then at full faith and confidence, I can attach a bank account and bond. You can win all the lawsuits you want against China. There's no full faith and confidence. You can't attach a bank account in Peking.
Okay, I have a question. I noticed you've talked a lot about tariffs, and I know China is one of the countries that has stiff tariffs, making it almost impossible for the U.S., if not impossible for the U.S., to be able to compete in the Chinese market. What would you do if you had the ability to change that? What would you do?
Well, I mean, you see that China's doing a lot of currency manipulation. There's a lot to be done there.
Okay.
And so there's various ways you can handle that, but those are certain things you don't tell the other side until you're ready to go.
Okay, now, what about Japan? You know, Japan's been dumping their cars on America now for a good 30 years. How would you open their markets to American cars?
Well, Japan, there's not really much room to drive around anyway, so I wouldn't even worry about it.
So would you be able to sell the Chevrolet Volt in Japan?
I think the Volt might fit down their streets. I don't think a regular side SUV would fit. I think we get stuck on their streets. They got pretty narrow streets there, you know.
Okay,
so I don't really think that's our market.
So even though Japan has tariffs, you wouldn't even try to break any tariffs with the Japanese market?
No, we're not too worried about it. China, we're worried about it. We're not worried about the Japanese.
But China's where you get your hair as well, right?
Well, the thing about that is the meatloaf. Like we were saying, we were talking about that old tax plan. That was before I got the meatloaf. That's when I had a different hairstylist.
Right.
I was a different person.
Yeah, but when you were a different person, what do you mean by that, Donald? I mean, this is very exciting for our viewers. Can you tell me how you were a different person?
I was an idiot. I was a loser.
A loser?
Now I'm a winner. Now I'm rich. I'm very rich.
Melania, how's life with the Donald?
Well, he hasn't gone bankrupt as of late, but you have been bankrupt about 4 times.
I don't think we weren't going to really get into that tonight. You know, that was something we talked about.
Well, I'm sorry, but Donald, you didn't put any parameters on our discussion tonight. So I think maybe we should talk a little bit about that. How many times have you declared bankruptcy, and how many different companies have you bankrupt, and how many employees did you lay off as a result of those bankruptcies?
Well, technically speaking, I've never declared bankruptcy ever.
You never have.
I never have.
Then why are they linked to you?
Well, because those people are losers. They're idiots.
Melania, what do you know about this?
Well, yes, personally, he has not declared bankruptcy, but corporate-wise, corporate bankruptcy, 4 times, I think, is the latest tally.
Yeah, only 4 times.
Only 4 times.
That Taj Mahal in
Well,
Atlantic
is that
City,
the
I told you
average,
it was a
or
bad idea.
how is it that you have $9 billion when you keep declaring bankruptcy? Is that how you get to your $9 billion, by declaring bankruptcy?
Well, actually the total bankruptcies of all 4 bankruptcies, the total that was bankrupt is about $2 billion. So that's about 1 truck, 1 semi-truck.
1 semi-truck.
And I've got about 5. So if at worst I have to give up one of my 5 trucks.
Oh, you're gonna have to give up one of your 5 trucks.
But all those were corporate bankruptcies and reorganizations, Chapter 11s. They weren't Chapter 7s.
Okay.
Yes, he stopped guaranteeing debt with his personal wealth. That was a good move.
Well, that was a good move.
That was a
For
good
who? Who was that a good?
It was a good move for me, and it was a bad move.
That was the 90s.
That was like Atlantic City. You know, I got out of Atlantic City when the getting was good.
So I guess Melania, does she keep telling you what to do all the time, Donald?
No, she never tells me what to do.
I understand from everything I heard, she does tell you what to do.
Yes, we're going to Japan tonight, correct?
Japan? No, I don't know about Japan.
Well, I understand you were going to Japan tonight.
You're not gonna give me more time, but let's forget about the bankruptcy.
When are you going to When are you going to file bankruptcy again?
Okay, that's enough about the bankruptcies. Okay, that's you know. Okay.
Tell me more, Melania. What about these bankruptcies?
I saw you type Chapter 11 in an email today.
Okay, look, Melania, not one more word.
Word.
You shot your wife!
Yeah.
Melania, are you all right?
Yeah, I shot her. You know.
Why did you shoot her?
There's no talking to her. You know, sometimes it just goes on and on.
There's no talking to her.
There's no talking to her. She just
How
goes
can
on.
you shoot your wife?
It goes on and on. You know, it's just like one thing, bankruptcy, this, you want some jewelry.
Well, Donald, I think we better change subjects here. Now, do you have any plans for the future?
Well, as a matter of fact, you ever heard that old expression about throwing your hat in the ring?
Of course.
And that was when fighters were, they have fist fights.
Pugilists.
Yeah, pugilists would be having a ring of guys would be around watching some fighters, and if you wanted to be a challenger, you throw your hat in the ring.
What would you throw your hat in the ring for?
Well, I'm going to throw my toupee in the ring. I'm going to announce my candidacy for the presidency of the United States of America.
For the President of the United States of America.
Yeah, because I want to make this country great again.
On Law Talk. You're
On Law
announcing
Talk.
yourself as the President of the United States of America.
I'm announcing on Law Talk. Right here, right now.
I got to tell you, this is very exciting. Unfortunately, Melania doesn't look so excited.
Well, yeah, well, she's fired.
She's fired?
She's fired.
Oh, this sounds like The Apprentice.
She's fired.
What are we going to do with her body?
Well, we'll worry about that later. I've got accountants to take care of that.
Well, I think what we ought to do is move on to our next subject and give us a chance to move Melania's body off the set.
Okay.
So anyway, tonight, hurry up. No, now. And tonight, our second segment, we're going to deal with continue the tax issues. And I'm fortunate enough to still have Mr. Trump with us. And Donald and I are going to be discussing the estate tax for different states and how you can actually save a lot of money by the state you choose to have your living and your residence parked in. Donald, can you tell me a little bit about how this works out?
Well, it's kind of funny. You look state by state, and different states have different inheritance tax rates. And with generally the trend being that the red states, or the more Republican states, tend to have, be tax havens, where the blue states tend to have very high inheritance tax.
Well, let me ask you about that. We have a general federal inheritance tax.
Right.
But you're saying that so many states have such a variety of taxes, it's actually worthwhile to shop which state you park your residence
Well,
in.
sure. Let's say you have multiple businesses in multiple states and multiple corporations in multiple states. So it depends where you might set up your corporate headquarters. It depends where you might, set up your nexus, basically, where you set up your, your focus of your business. And, you could maybe do sales in some states or do some minor things in one state, but keep, the majority of your business in a state that has lower tax rate. And you can put your residence in one of those states.
Okay, so I understand that Delaware is one of the choice states to establish the nexus for corporations. In fact, Delaware seems to be the main location for many of the top companies, including Apple,
right.
United.
The corporate law in Delaware is very straightforward. It's very predictable. Other states, it's very unpredictable what's going to happen in a corporate lawsuit.
I also understand that you can, that companies set up corporations in Delaware because you can actually park money there without it being taxed.
Right. There are some advantages there, but there's different places you can put money that have different tax relief. But we're talking about an inheritance tax is where you die or where your residence is when you die. So
okay, so let's talk about that. What states are some good states?
I'll say like Texas. Like say all the red states are pretty good tax, not only on their sales tax and state income taxes, but also on their inheritance tax. So almost across the board, they seem to match that they have lower tax rates.
So has there been any proof that people are changing states based on inheritance tax?
Well, the thing about it is the people who are worried about inheritance tax, in a lot of cases are people who have a net worth over $10 million. And so, it's not like a huge population shift. But if you look at the number of people in that class, that are moving, yes, you definitely see people moving assets to states with lower taxes if you're in that bracket.
Yeah, I understand. There's actually was a census.
In other words, it's kind of like birds flying south for the
winter.
South for the winter,
they're flocking. Not south of the border. South for the winter.
They're flocking to these lower tax states.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, if you're about to retire, or if you're retired, you're maybe not going to run your business. You can really have your domicile anywhere. I mean, you're not really forced to be at a certain place where you used to run your business.
Well, there's a lot of states that don't even tax Social Security. Well,
right.
Some states do tax Social Security.
Right.
And I think it benefits. I understand Florida is a good state. That's why a lot of people retire to Florida.
Right.
I believe.
Also, some good bankruptcy laws in Florida.
Yeah,
you can keep your house. There's no, like here it's $140,000 in California, right?
Right.
Unlimited in Florida. So your homestead exemption is basically unlimited in Florida.
Yeah, that means no matter what the
you could have a
value is.
$50 million house, go through bankruptcy, you still keep your house.
That's incredible.
Not that I know too much about bankruptcies. But.
Yeah, I understand that. I don't want to cover that subject right now.
We'll get there.
I think
wait.
I know. I don't want to cover that subject.
I think we've already been there. We've been there. Okay.
Yeah, but let's talk. Let's go back now. So I was about to say a moment ago that I do know there's studies done about people changing states, and it's like somewhat anecdotal, but in reality, they're showing a mass exodus from a lot of the states that have high inheritance tax to states with no or very little inheritance tax. So that's already been proven in actually statistical numbers. So that's already there. So what is the benefit to any state to still have a high inheritance tax?
Well, I think that, some people may have family in the state where they're going to stay anyway. They're going to take the pain, right? So I'm sure there's people in a certain situation that are going to stay anyway. Like, say, if you live in New York, very high taxes. They have commercials, we got low taxes, but really some of the highest taxes anywhere on the planet. But people love living in New York, So in certain cases, people will sacrifice that money because either they have family or they just love that city, or for one reason or another, they'll take that economic hit. But as a general trend, that aside, those exceptions aside, most of the money is leaving the blue states and being invested in the other states.
Yeah, well,
and I'm not only talking about.
Where do you keep your money, Donald?
Okay, I keep my money in my semi-trailers, and Melania's in charge of that. My accountant's in charge of that. So
yeah, Melania. I don't think she'll be in charge of that much more.
No, she's fine.
But anyway,
she'll be fine.
Yeah, I understand.
She's a trooper. She's tough as nails.
She's tough as nails. Yeah, that's what I understood.
She's gonna be fine.
But anyway, let's go back to this. States like California got to be some of the highest inheritance tax states. And you die in California, you might as well just be saying, "Come and take it."
Yeah, it's true. And also, with capital gains have gone up, and then you basically got what you call double or triple taxation. So by the time you pay your inheritance tax, you might be in 105% of what you made.
Well, it's good thing okay, now I do know that if you're in categories right now, the federal inheritance tax doesn't even kick in until after $5 million.
Well, it's for a couple, 10.25.
Yeah, exactly, and that's for the federal. But the state is the one you really have to look out for. And now you're talking about the capital gains tax.
Yeah.
So you're talking about capital gains on the assets that you may inherit.
Well, let's just say, for example, let's say your parents bought a house years ago for $100,000, and they sell it for $1 million. You get $900,000 in capital gains. And let's say that's taxed at a 45%, inheritance tax. Okay, so you've got, $450,000. Okay, and then you got to pay a 25% to capital gains on that. You can see that you're down to you're down to $350 now. So quickly gets whittled down. So I mean, there's taxes on both sides. When the people inherit, they still have to pay capital gains on the amount that increased. Someone's got to pay that capital gains. It doesn't disappear just because someone dies.
Well, I wish it would disappear.
That would be nice. Yeah. Well, actually, it's getting bigger. It used to be 15%. Now it's 23.5%.
Yes, I do understand.
Because Obamacare or Obama, I don't care, whatever it is. Obama doesn't care about that 7.5%. But they may change the rest of the law, but they'll keep the tax.
Well, that we've talked about.
No, the thing
is,
even if they revoke Obamacare, they're going to keep the tax raise. That's for sure.
I think what we have to do is we have to start looking at our next subject tonight. And can you tell us what the next subject is tonight?
Well, we're talking about Switzerland.
Switzerland.
The skiing capital of the world. And there we've got her. She's back. And I told you she's a rock. It's like she's a rock.
Tough as nails.
Oh,
yeah,
they're good to see you.
Tough as nails.
They're good to see you. The thing is, I bought this thing in China.
Yeah, that's the problem. You just can't buy anything good in China anymore. And that includes guns.
You can't rely on the Chinese.
Yeah, but the one thing is,
it's good to have you back.
Do we have to buy your bullets? To take care of business?
That probably was a Chinese bullet.
Yeah, well, the Chinese firing squad, the first thing they do is the tax collector takes the money for the bullet that killed your loved one.
Yeah, okay. So we're talking about Switzerland. So, Melania, tell us a little bit. You've been looking at Switzerland. You're Austrian. That's like one of your neighboring states. You used to ski there. Tell us a little bit about Switzerland and what's going on with inheritance tax.
So last month, June 14th, voters decided not to approve a 20% tax on inheritance of 2 million francs or above. So that's good news for rich people.
Okay, well, we're rich. We're very rich. Did I tell you we're very rich? Not rich.
No, I haven't heard that.
We're very rich. We're the Trumps.
I haven't heard that before.
We're very rich, right?
Yes. Well, it's also good for businesses because the theory is that when the beneficiaries inherit these businesses after their parents die, the owners of the business, they wouldn't be able to pay this tax. So then they would either have to sell off the business, bankrupt, who knows?
Or they have to take loans on it. Yeah, in fact, I did read a lot about the voting. It was up 71% against the inheritance tax. In fact, it's not just large companies; it's small businesses, because there's a lot of small businesses in Switzerland. Right. And you know, you have your bed and breakfast, you have your maker of whatever, and you have your little stores, and those are the businesses that would be suffering just as much. Right. So when they vote down the inheritance tax, where do the Swiss make their money to run their country, though? Because I understand that the inheritance tax was supposed to be dedicated to the social welfare system of Switzerland.
2/3 of it.
Well, yeah, that was going to go just like Greece has a social welfare system. Puerto Rico the other day went bankrupt. Illinois has gone bankrupt. Greece has gone bankrupt. And why did they go bankrupt? Always because these pension plans that are just...
They're coming to fruition.
Very generous. And also you've got so many people working for the government, and then so many retired people who used to work for the government. There's very few workers, tax-paying workers left support all these other people.
I hate to bring us back home, but we have the same problem in this country.
No. Well, Melania, how many semi-trailers full of $100 bills is our national debt?
10,000.
10,000 semi-trailers.
Well, that's what we'll get to. 20 trillion.
Yeah, yes. 20 trillion. We have 20 trillion, so we have 10,000 semi-trailers full of $100 bills as our national debt in the United States of America.
Okay, so let's talk about Switzerland. How many trailer loads do they have in Switzerland are sitting in the banks?
Well, I think that there's been a lot of the Swiss bank secret has been broken open lately because the United States. Well, there's been a capital flight from the United States. Let's face it. There's billions or trillions of dollars that have left America in the last few years, basically because, you know, it's become unhospitable for business.
I mean, a banana republic.
Yeah, it's become a banana, and so...
Especially California.
Well, yeah, California, yeah, but I mean, just people like Ireland, 8% tax rate, Canada...
You're talking about corporate tax rate.
All tax rates, but, you know, 18% tax rate in Canada, 8% in Ireland. You know, Google, Apple, they're all in Ireland. No one's going to incorporate the United States anymore. It's ridiculous. I mean, who can afford it? It's like throwing the money away. So that money's all offshore. And what happened is because so much money's leaving or not coming back, you know, the recent administration has started really going after people who have foreign bank accounts.
Well, that's why they went to Switzerland, and they actually forced the banks in Switzerland to open their records. And they did that through the IMF, I believe, the International.
Well, also the IRS. Right now, if you look at Tina Turner. Tina Turner marries a very rich European. And then they want to look at all his accounts. Not only do they want to look at all his accounts, but they want to look at every account in every bank that he has some money in. And so basically, the Americans now are the lepers of the economic world. If you're an American and you want to open a bank account in Europe, they don't want to talk to you because it just means that, you know, the IRS is going to be all over everybody. So basically, we've been ostracized from the international trade just because our government it's kind of like the Berlin Wall, right? The Russians wanted to keep people from jumping over the wall, and the Americans trying to keep rich people from jumping over the wall.
The other way.
Yeah, but trying to get out, yeah.
Well, let's go back to Switzerland here for a minute, because I want to know if
banking,
Switzerland...
They make their money banking.
Okay, they make their money banking, but you said, Melania, a moment ago that 2/3 of the money that they tax goes to social welfare programs.
That's what this new law would have gone towards.
Well, what pays for those programs today?
I think it's a pension plan that's set up through, 2020. So there already is a system in place. I think that's why people were confused that this law was even there, because there is money that is going to go hit the pension. I think the proponents behind this law having been passed are just upset that there really isn't a good distribution of wealth across Switzerland. I think it's 2% of the Swiss population is worth as much as the rest of the country combined.
Well,
so
I'm gonna have to say it sounds like a capitalistic system, and unfortunately we have the Marxism creeping around the world.
No, but
right
I mean,
now,
if you look at people say America's the richest country in the world, that's ridiculous. Okay, Americans are broke. If we were in a boat, the water would be up to the gunwales, and we're sinking. I mean, we're up to our knees in water. And if you look at how many semi-trucks full of $100 bills is our unfunded liabilities, Melania?
Oh gosh, I have this number somewhere. Let's see. I lost it. I'm
It's
sorry.
100,000. I think it's 100,000
Oh, it's not the
trucks.
10,000 at 20 trillion.
Yeah,
but
it's
Add another
100,000.
zero.
Yeah, it's 211 trillion is our unfunded liabilities. And so basically, if you look at our cash flow sheet, basically our boat's at the bottom of the ocean. The Swiss have about a 15%. They are at about a 50% debt to capital ratio.
Right.
We're at 100%. We're right at 2021 and 2020.
Yeah,
so we're
well,
broke.
isn't that when you start getting to that 100% level that you're about ready to go to a Greece standard?
Well, Greece is 150.
150.
And I think Puerto Rico was in the 120. Illinois, I'm not sure. Illinois is up in that area too.
Well, I got a question.
Unfunded,
what are you supposed to do with unfunded liabilities? You better figure out a way to fund them.
Well, that's the thing, or you figure out how to modify that contract. What's happening is generally what happens is it's kind of a black hole. You fund them more, then they get bigger. You can never fund something because, as I think the human services person said under this administration, is like, how much is enough? And she said, there's never enough.
Well, of course,
there's never enough. There's never enough.
Never enough.
Free money. You can never get more free money. So
Yeah, but I want free money.
yeah, everyone does.
We all do. But see, unfortunately, that's not a responsible way to run a country.
Well, I'm just saying that when you look at the United States, people say we're the richest country in the world. That's just not true. We're broke.
Well, then what would you do if you were president?
Well, I think the main thing we've got to look at to make the country great is to start putting people to work. Okay, it's fine that they get some assistance or even Social Security. Now, there's some people that can't work. They're very young. They're very old. They're sick or they have some kind of disability. Of course, they can't work, right? And but then you have a lot of people that just want to work in the United States of America, and they can't get jobs. They just can't get jobs. There's not enough jobs to go around. And so what the government's been doing lately is we'll make more government jobs. But the thing is, government jobs use more money than they really produce. Let me give you an example. Let's say you see somebody building a road, and you say, and then you've got 20 guys. They say you got 100 guys out there with shovels. And you go, why don't you use a bulldozer? You'd be done in a half hour. And the guy goes, it's a job program. We want to employ as many people as we can. Well, in that case, why don't we give everybody spoons? So what the United States is everybody's got a spoon, and we're spooning away. Okay, we're
working on that highway with spoons. Is that where we're going with that?
So the United States has become a nation of spooners, right? Instead of bulldozers, we're using spooners because the bulldozers are bad for the global warming.
Wait a minute, isn't Greece's biggest problem is that they had so many people in the government payroll welfare system?
A lot of spooners,
going on. But that's where you go. That's where you start adding up to 150%.
No, but I mean the thing is you have a lot of people working, but not much wealth being produced, not much production. You can have a lot of people spooning little pieces of. It's just like we have, the present administration. I'm not going to say anything against it. God bless the soul. I love Obama, But the thing is, the boat's sinking, and he's bailing the boat out with a spoon, saying, "Oh, we're going to
teacup."
Yeah, a teacup.
TARP money.
That's not going to be enough. You can raise taxes like the 7% of your capital gains. That's not unless you start pumping the boat out, unless you start really having some economic growth. The boat's going to sink. The boat's sinking right now. The question is how to keep it
I think tonight
I want to keep the boat from sinking.
I want to keep the boat from sinking, but I have to thank you both for coming in and embracing Law Talk.
Okay,
with
glad
your
to have you on the
presence.
show.
And I got to tell you something, for all of us at Law Talk, we really appreciate your time, Mr. Trump. We wish you the best in the election, and we certainly hope that if you are elected, you can put the ship on the right course and protect us all.
Okay, Jim, and I hate to tell you this, but you're fired. No, just kidding.
Can we call it a yacht instead?
We'd rather have a yacht.
Yeah, how many truckloads does that take?
Yeah, it's about the same cubic feet, actually. It's about the semi-truck. One of our yachts is about 3,200 cubic feet.